everybody, Blake T. Wilde here, and welcome to Cover Comics, the series on the channel where I go cover to cover on some comics that I enjoy, I want to share with the world. The premise of the show is really to look further in depth into comics and what comics are and the storytelling techniques. Things that aren't just, here's the story, here are the characters that appear. That's it. I want to go into this and look at it from an artist's perspective, from a storytelling perspective, to show the world that comics are more than just cool fights and neat costumes. And I know what you're thinking. I'm not a professional with 20 plus years in the industry. What do I know about any of this? And you're right, I'm not. Yet. Wink. But I do make my own comics, and I have been reading comics for years. I have studied the craft, if you will. And that's why today we're taking a look at how two different artists handle the same characters in this two-part extravaganza. And that is, if you can't really see the title down here from the glare, Spider-Man #1, the first all-new collector's item issue. This is the Adjectiveless Spider-Man that Todd McFarlane originated, that they gave him so he didn't leave the company or whatever. Spider-Man Torment Part 1 of 5. The Legend of the Iraq Knight. Already just sort of throwing blows towards the distinctive competition over there. But this is one of the most famous Spider-Man stories, although the story itself is bad. It's just, there's nothing to it other than cool pictures, which makes my whole premise of this show of trying to find something more meaningful a bit more ironic, I suppose. But I already talked about Rob Liefeld's X-Force, and I really dug that, so I'm sure there's going to be some stuff in this. But I'm not only going to be taking a look at Spider-Man #1 by Todd McFarlane. I'm also going to be taking a look at Spider-Man #6 by Steve Ditko and Stan Lee. Because both of these issues have to do with fighting the Lizard. If you didn't know, the Lizard is the main villain in at least this issue. I can't remember the rest of the issues, but I'm pretty sure the Lizard plays a big heavy part in Torment. And the Lizard is introduced here. Half man, half reptile. The Lizard will take over all of Earth unless Spider-Man alone can stop him. So this week, I'm talking about Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man. Join me next week when I take a look at Steve Ditko's Spider-Man. Well, let's get right into things. This just, classic Spider-Man cover. I don't know which version this is. There's a couple with, different colorings for the webs and the background and all that. My God, this must have just been wretched for whoever was doing the color separations. And something I didn't notice until I was just looking over it right now is that there's a question mark down here on the McFarlane signature. What's that about? I've never noticed that before. Usually it just says McFarlane in his little scroll signature thing, but for some reason he put a question mark underneath. Has anybody ever discussed that before? Is there a story behind that? Let's get right into things here. Classic Todd McFarlane panels and horrific looking caricature cartoonist kind of people going on. Just these long vertical panels. The city, New York, littered with towering concrete giants that seem to swallow up the sky. His purple prose that he's trying to get, just sort of Frank Miller-esque writing techniques of bringing in a sense of noir to Spider-Man, a character that, probably doesn't need it. With the fantastic introduction of Spider-Man, it almost makes me think of Amazing Spider-Man 2, which I believe, yeah, that makes sense, is the one that begins off with Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man swinging through the city. We're cutting to first-person cameras. We're following him as he's whipping and flipping and dipping all around New York City. Spider-Man like we've never seen him before. He's so textured. He's so spindly. And just contorted, I suppose is a better word to use than whatever I just said. Rise above it all, his name is Spider-Man, his powers extraordinary, his web lines advantageous. Wholly unique for Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man. You know, we've seen Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man. Now we get to see Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man unleashed. And of course, Todd's just pure 100% young, energetic, just adding all this stuff, just really showing off to what came before. Like, I'm doing my own comic, I'm adding all this, like, oh, I'm not putting just a boring Stan Lee Presents right up here like all other comics do. I'm putting the Stan's name in the webs, and in front of the title is a fucking spider that's dangling down. He has his name down here in this hectic, scratchy typeface that he made of his own. And getting right into the over-exaggeration cartoonist aspect of Todd McFarlane's work. This does kind of look like Todd McFarlane. This profile of this mugger is, you know, it's what you expect from Todd. It's gross, gritty New York City alleyways and crime happening, and our heroes cast in shadow. You may not know this, but Todd McFarlane went to school for graphic design. He has a design-oriented mind. He likes to lay things out differently. If you can tell by this 5-issue series, because they really just let him do whatever he wants. You can see that. You can see it even more in Spawn when he was doing the pencils and the page layouts. It's fantastic. It's something that's brand new. It's breathing entirely new life into the pages. And unlike when he was just purely the artist on the Spider-Man series, he has free reign to do whatever he wants. Marvel's not going to restrict him at this time because they want to keep him on the payroll to make sure that they keep selling books. So he's playing with negative space in this page with this full black background, which sinks into the opposite page on this other side. This could be a comic book cover. This looks like a fantastic just illustration. I love this. I love seeing this Spider-Man just cast in shadow. It reminds me of a Steve Ditko cover. It's entirely done in negative space with Spider-Man. It's just one of those beautiful Spider-Man covers out there. Spider-Man calling this dude punk and how he has 3 seconds to let her go. Wholly out of character for Spider-Man, I feel. Like, why is he all of a sudden starting to do this? And of course, they're kind of keeping with the similar idea of Marvel Comics, that being every issue is somebody's first, so you gotta explain how the character works. A spider sense delivers the warning, enhanced reflexes take care of the rest. Which, it's far better done in this than a lot of comics from this time and before, where the heroes just kind of outright state how their powers work, or the narration outright states how their powers work. And even the fact that he plays with the background of each page, like, since this book has started, aside from here, every page has had just a complete black background to sort of elicit the feeling that this isn't your normal Spider-Man book. This is a darker book. This is a grittier book. There's going to be more stakes, I suppose. It's not your average Spider-Man. And when there is the white, such as right here, it's sort of a flashing, like, boom! You get hit with this bright light in your eyes as the lizard emerges from the sewers. We get this, who is it? Calypso, I think, is the villain. She's trying to avenge Kraven or whatever the hell. And of course the doom. Jaws inspired, I'd imagine. But what this really is Walt Simonson. If you've never read the Walt Simonson Thor series, I highly recommend it. If you have, you will recognize, usually whenever the comic creator puts the 4 letters DOOM in giant typeface on the page somewhere as a sound effect or an onomatopoeia, it's paying homage, or at least inspired by, Walt Simonson's Thor, where just about every issue for like the first, I don't remember, 6 or 8 issues? I can't remember how long it takes to get that set up, is Doom. Doom, as this giant sword is forged in, like, the heart of a sun or something. It's been years since I've read Simonson's Thor. I can't remember what the exact premise is, but the Doom is the anvil being struck, and it's, like, the dooms get a bit quicker or a bit, like, more pronounced as like the forging of the sword comes closer and closer to completion, until finally you get the last doom, and it's not the doom of the anvil, it's the doom of what's to come. This episode is brought to you by my Patreon and my comics, Destructo Boy and the Custodians Agents of Cross. Each issue of the Custodians Agents of Cross is over 60 pages of pure comics, written, illustrated, colored, lettered, designed. Everything you see in these books was created entirely by myself. And this asks the all-important question, what if the only heroes that can save the world are an intelligent baboon, a girl who controls fire, the world's smartest man with the power of elasticity only in his right arm, and a four-armed werewolf? And this just follows their exploits. Like I said, it is a love letter to the 60s, Silver Age, and to all of comics in general. As you'll see as the series progresses to its 6th and final issue. This entire first issue, however, is posted in its entirety on my Patreon, patreon.com/Smokey's videos, where you can read the entire thing for only $2. Normally this book, I sell it for $15, which already is a far better deal than anything you're getting from Marvel or DC these days. But as little as $2 a month, you can get access to the entire issue. And I am serializing issue 2 as we speak. But that's not all, because I also have my sci-fi, zany, just crazy fun series, fun for the whole family, all-age comic, Destructo Boy. Destructo Boy follows this little robot guy right here as he lives on a giant space station in the far-flung future, and he battles crime, giant robots, giant monsters, and evil conquerors from space such as Grimlax the Astro Knight. Each of these issues just introduces as much zany sci-fi craziness as I could fit into these books. They're being serialized on my Patreon as I speak as well, and you can pick up all 5 issues on my Etsy shop, blaketwilde.etsy.com. But that's what we get here as well. I don't know what it's supposed to be in this context. Maybe a clock? Or just a sort of, since Calypso is like magical or whatever, maybe it's like some sort of ethereal, otherworldly voice. It's like the Jason from Friday the 13th, sort of, you know, that kind of thing. But we get the lizard, because Todd McFarlane wanted to use the lizard, because no one really ever uses the lizard. Now it's pure white with this stripe of black running down the center, whilst Peter is at home, possibly eliciting some sort of feeling of a fake sense of safety. This is after the Venom stuff, and I believe it is after Venom tracks down Mary Jane? But that kind of sounds right. I'm not a huge fan of Venom, so I don't know the timeline here. But you know, they're together still. Thankfully, at this time, they're still happily married. And still happily in a relationship. Honestly, this isn't the best Todd McFarlane work. It really does feel like he rushed through these pages. These hands are very plump, I'll say, and these faces... these faces, man. This one, especially on Peter, it's very flat. It looks like he got hit in the face with a shovel. They're kind of off-model between each panel that he appears in. Like, this one looks completely different to this one. The noses are completely different, I should note, between Peter's on these panels. Mary Jane's eyes are a bit too high up. It's not the biggest deal, because when you're doing however many pages a month Todd McFarlane was doing, he was penciling, he was inking himself, he was whipping out pages, you know, you're doing a lot, so there's a lot that is just going to be like, who cares? Fuck it. I just got to keep going. I got to get this done with. Let's move on. I got more pages to fill. I feel the exact same way. Each issue of my comic, The Custodians Agents of Cross, is over 60 pages. So if there's some panels within those 60 pages that don't look great, oh well. You just got to keep going. And that's a big thing, I feel, with probably modern day comics and art, is that there's not that, it doesn't seem like there's that drive anymore. It feels like every single thing has to be perfect. Everybody wants it to look completely photo-real, which again, it's a comic. I already said, why do I want my comics to look real? You just have to accept that you're not going to be able to get everything to look perfect. You can get it to look good. Like, this looks good. It's passable. It works. But in hindsight, you know, it's not going to look great. But that's fine, because next issue, you can show what you can do better. You're learning, you're continuing, you're growing. Even if you're a professional, you're growing every time you illustrate, every time you make an image. If you're a beginner, that's even better way to grow and become better, is just to keep going, to realize what was at fault and what's was sort of lower valued in terms of your ability, and to work on that. Here's another, going back to, like, you know, occasionally panels are going to look weird when you're doing so much. This is a very thick leg. That is such a goofy fucking face, which makes no sense anatomically how he's working here. Like, it should have been lower, but obviously he wants to depict Peter Parker laughing hysterically as MJ tickles him. So it wouldn't work naturally unless he, like, lifted the arms up or moved the arms down, but then you couldn't see her tickling his, like, underside, his sides. It's just, it looks so out of place. Boom! Here, or should I say doom, I suppose. The splash page of Venom, of the Lizard. I wonder how much this page sold for, assuming that Todd doesn't still have it. Like, look at that mouth right there and tell me Todd McFarlane has a realistic art style. He just doesn't, and I never understood why people said that he did, because clearly he never tried. He never wanted it to be realistic. Sure, it looks, I guess, better than, you know, Liefeld's. People like this more than Rob Liefeld's, but I would say they're both equally as cartoony. And here we start getting even more crazy stuff being played with in terms of design. Almost Steranko-like, with these white borders just trailing down the page. Almost makes you think of, well, it's these windows right here. I was going to say it's like window blinds, but it's very similar to these windows in this building that Calypso is residing in, which might be Craven's house? I can't remember. Gore like you've never seen. Gore and verbiage that you've never seen in a Spider-Man comic. This perfect killing machine is killing. I'll slaughter you, freak! As he's trying to shoot the Lizard, as these other guys are getting mauled to death. And just blood caked and splattered everywhere. She's fucking over here cutting her finger open. She's not cutting her finger open. She full-on stabbed her goddamn pad of her finger and is dripping it into this pool. Just insanity for a Spider-Man book. And we're back to the happy and bright day. It's daytime. Peter wakes up in their, like, warehouse, loft apartment or whatever this is, to after they've banged for the night. Whatever it is they're doing, as Peter's heading off to be Spider-Man. What could these letters mean? CNNR? And you'll notice again, it's daytime, so the pages are all white. It's a bright day. Arachnophobia, that's a fun little coincidence. And then when we get back into the story, it goes dark. And as you'll see, it's daytime. Things have calmed down, seemingly. There's a mystery to solve, sure. But it's, you know, Peter is still in the warmth, as it says, warmth of the sunshine, a nice fresh day. He doesn't know what truly unfolds in these dark streets of New York. Just another crazy pose that kind of makes me uncomfortable with how much of a bulge he has, not just on his crotch, but on his thighs as well, and his legs. And just the insane spaghetti webbing as he flips and dips and soars through New York City. This is a great looking. Let's flip this around a little bit. Like, it looks even crazier from this angle. But as night fades away in the big city, a guy named Ralph Dill is about to get fucked up because he has an odd-looking face. And the Lizard attacks. And here we have an arachnophobia advertisement. Is that a coincidence? Did they purposely put this fucking advertisement in this book? Here, the captions say it all. As he swings above it all, this hero of youth, lost in thought over what needs to be done today. It crawls below, waiting, hungering for a hero that swings above it all. Soon it will feast. So darkness is set to come within these pages. And then, my God, we just get this fucking tirade by Todd McFarlane. And it's basically just Todd McFarlane discussing why he got the book, what they're going to do with the book, and, like, you know, hey, tell us what you think. And that is it for the beginning of Todd McFarlane's Adjectiveless Spider-Man involving the Lizard. It's not my favorite, which is why I only own this first issue. I have read the whole Spider-Man Torment before. I'm not a fan, needless to say, if you couldn't tell. But it's like I said, it's fitting for the time that it came out in. It was something new. It was an experimental phase that Marvel probably regrets. Because this just led to even further rise in popularity for Todd. And it gave more freedom to the artists at the time, you know, like Jim Lee, like Rob Liefeld, like I don't know, Will Spertasio, Mark Silvestri, Eric Larson. And we all know how that turned out. They formed Image, and Marvel was like, we are never doing that again. But overall, it's a fine story. It's an interesting time in Spider-Man's life. You get to go back to when he was still together with MJ. You get to see this stranger, almost esoterically dark and brooding version of Spider-Man that Todd wants to tell. Like, it's clear that his idea for a superhero book isn't going to be something that is the normal Spider-Man, which is almost makes sense why this is just called Spider-Man. It's not amazing. It's not spectacular. It's just Spider-Man. It's just some fucked up shit that Spider-Man's going through. Just this little Canadian boy who wanted to tell some dark stories about a guy with superpowers and some evil magic voodoo woman and a giant monster. And eventually he would do that again with Spawn. Maybe sometime I'll take a look at some Spawn issues if there's anything in particular. Any Spawn issues, any comics in general that you want me to check out on this cover-to-cover series, let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts on this issue, the artwork, Todd McFarlane in general, on Spider-Man Torment as a whole? Are you a fan of Todd McFarlane? I've been a big fan of Todd McFarlane for years. He was a huge inspiration to me when I really got back into drawing and wanting to make comics. It was a fantastic resource to learn. He used to upload videos on YouTube and Facebook of him drawing and doing tutorials and stuff. You can still check those out. They're still available. But they're a really great stepping stone. And I love his artwork. I love Todd McFarlane's artwork. I love Rob Liefeld's artwork. I even love Frank Miller's artwork. And I'm talking late period Frank Miller. So I am perfectly fine with this. It's cool to look at. As someone who graduated with a bachelor's in graphic design, it's nice to see someone in a similar line of myself, someone who wants to make comics, who studied graphic design, do this. It's really fascinating, and I love those early Todd McFarlane pages where he's just doing like what was it, Death Inc. or not Mystery Inc. I can't remember what it is. Something Inc. Can't remember, and he's just doing crazy page layouts. Spawn has it a lot too, which I love. But I'll always be a fan of Todd McFarlane's work, and maybe not his storytelling. But like I said, let me know what you thought. As always, check out my Patreon, patreon.com/Smokey'sVideos for early access to videos when available, serialized posts of my comic, The Custodians, Agents of Cross, the first issue of which is posted in its entirety. Destructo Boy, working through all 5 issues on there right now. The second issue of The Custodians is being uploaded as we speak, and I'm working on the third right now as well. I also have movie commentaries on there and some behind-the-scenes stuff, so check it out. And I will see you next time when I go cover to cover. Bye!